back with more Buffy. This is episode 13 of season 7. Very excited as always to carry on, so what's going to happen next as we kind of enter the second half of the season properly. Loving this season so far. I really am enjoying it. Lots of stuff with like the first going on and the whole overall arc of the season I'm really liking. And you know, some characters have their moments with like the potentials, but overall I am a fan of the story they're kind of telling. I'm intrigued to see how things will escalate further, if things will escalate further, and where they're going to go with everything in terms of not just wrapping up this kind of arc, but wrapping up the entire show, because we only have 10 episodes left now, which is a very scary, awful thought that very soon I'll be sitting down for the last time to record a Buffy reaction, which is madness. But yeah, for now we can still just enjoy the ride because the end's not quite in sight just yet. We're getting there, but not quite. And yeah, I'm just intrigued to see where they're going to take the story next, because last episode I really loved with the whole Dawn potentially being a potential thing, and Xander's really lovely speech at the end. I really enjoyed the message behind the last episode a lot, and I guess we shall see what they have in store for us next. So let's get into the next one.
Vi's left her notebook on the mantelpiece. Would you mind running it out to the car?
Sure.
Oh, while you're at it, you can smack her on the head with it and remind her not to be lying around. Apparently someone told them that the vision quest consists of me driving them into the desert, doing the hokey pokey until a master mama.
You should probably let Molly out of the trunk.
The trunk. Wow, they are all screwed, aren't they?
Either we're together or I'm on the leash.
We just need to make sure the trigger's deactivated then.
If only he was on a leash when they were together.
Lack of...
Uh-oh. It's normally the chip on your shoulder that's a problem. Oh.
Well, there seems to be a definite lack of screaming. That has to be good. You'd think.
Depends on the context.
Remember when things used to be nice and boring?
No.
No. Delivering the tea. Okay, not when you make it sound all dirty like that.
No, we're interested in spilling the tea.
I was never sick.
Oh, you were so busted. Xander's gonna have to drive you to the desert.
Willow, and I need your help.
I'm not sure about her intentions.
You're sexy when you pout.
Why do you do that?
Oh.
You really haven't been getting out there much, have you? Well, I just...
Maybe there's a reason why, Kennedy.
If you can just touch her, just once, everything would be okay. For both of you.
Like when her and Tara held hands in Hush and then they did the magic thing.
Maybe it has something to do with the new soul.
Well, maybe I wasn't meant to last this long.
Was it made by Apple?
Who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters!
God, that phrase is never gonna be usable again.
Damn it.
Sorry.
To your parents. Riley, tell him we're having a problem with Spike's chip. No, his chip. Spike.
Listen, Pat.
Can we talk to his wife?
Probably just gonna fade.
It was gone.
Jesus.
I saw that and
He's not having an easy season, is he?
The magic stuff. Seems like fairy tale crap to me, but if it matters to you, you care about it. So it's cool.
But also, needs to be wary of it. Oh my, okay. Don't know how I feel about it. I mean, she's just kind of... She's still very much in the Tara zone, aren't we all?
Well, that was nice.
Huh?
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Same. I can't get rid of this bastard. Oh God.
Oh, you're back. No, I'm not. It's not. I'm not it. No, listen to me. No more listening. I know who you are now. I know what you made me do. Your promises of...
Ooh! Oh no!
Oh,
Buffy.
wait. But if he's the first...
I'm not the first. You're not the first.
Hey, bad touching.
Jesus. Spike is just like, dying. So a lot of spells that are like changing how Willow appears this season, or disappears.
I
kill him. It's hard to see the chuckles.
Yeah. Being faced
So you got a plan?
quite literally with
Can we get some help?
probably biggest mistake.
I thought you were gonna try.
Biggest
it
regret.
I did.
Well, I did not think we'd be back here. When are they going to fill it with concrete though?
Giles never mentioned any of this.
Robson said by the time he came to, there's no Giles.
Oh god.
But there's no way that we can know.
Actually, that's not true.
Hug him.
The first can't take corporeal form.
He took his glasses off if that counts.
What if this is all part of the plan? Drive you guys away so it can have its way with me? Everything that?
I'll risk it.
Okay, well, I'll do something evil. Like burning something or gluing things together.
I know
Ooh.
that, Harris. It's just taken.
Nah, they're going to do fake outs. I'm not buying it.
We actually met when I was a freshman. And also not a boy.
Oh.
I know her. Okay. Well,
Kill her!
I'm sort of screwed up. But I mean,
Really?
you already knew that because you lived it. And that's the crazy thing about hitting rock bottom. You get to relive all the crappy things that you did. And I wanted to come find you and tell
Well,
you
it kind of is
that I was
now.
here. This is what right.
Oh.
It didn't work? No, it didn't, you dumb bitch. Willow.
It was Warren.
Are they merging? Is she slowly becoming Warren? Because I am not here for that. That is my actual nightmare.
I'm becoming him.
The things he'll do to get his skin back.
Oh, God. They just left him.
Yeah. There was a thing.
Okay, I'll go. R.
Oh god. I don't know what situation's worse.
Kind of makes you grateful that you were the potential after all, doesn't it? Pay for it.
No, not so fast with the big few.
He might know we're coming.
I mean, it's a bright side.
Too late. Just a teenager, a powerless former demon, and two big geeks.
At least you're big geeks. Oh, my love. How can they take my favourite person and turn them into my least favourite person? This is a personal attack.
Buffy!
Wonderful.
She's dealt with a lot worse. Long before she ever went out and found herself a big old potential Slayer bodyguard, okay? Just have a little faith in her. I never said I was a potential Slayer. No, I think you did when you first got here. You told us no.
You did it, didn't you, you bitch? Kill her! I was willing to give her a chance.
How'd that work out for you?
You'd be amazed.
No! Oh! Corporeal form!
Me too. Me too.
You'll feel each other, including some of us who don't know each other well enough to take such liberties. Thank you. I assume there is a perfectly reasonable and not at all insane explanation.
Ah. Wish I could see a bloody thing. I mean, I assume they just killed it then? Oh. Oh!
Beginning.
What's happening?
Miss Summers, Agent Finn reported that you tried to contact him earlier today.
Ah.
Knew it.
We're going to provide you anything you need to help Bassface here. Those were his exact words, man.
That's fair.
Leave it as it is much longer to be fatal to him.
Okay.
Get out then.
How long?
Now, man, all decisions regarding Hostile 17 are to be left in your hands. His chip. We can either repair
I like that Riley trusts her with what to do with him.
Standard penance malediction is all. Okay.
That doesn't make any sense to me, Amy.
Crazy talk for what? The hex I cast lets the victim's subconscious pick the form of their punishment. It's always better than anything I can come up with. Elegant.
Oh man,
Do it.
she thinks she
Let
deserves
her
it.
out. It's about power. Willow always had all the power. Long before she even knew what to do with it.
Because she's better than you.
Came so easy for her.
Because she's better than
Rest of
you.
us? We had to work twice as hard to be half as good.
Because she's better than you.
She gave in to evil. The stuff worse than I can even imagine.
I mean,
She
it wasn't her
almost stole the
finest
world.
moment, granted.
And yet everyone keeps on loving her. I'm gonna stop you now, you know.
Please do.
I'm not the bad guy here.
I mean, you
But I
are.
wonder where he'd be right about now.
This is where he shot them.
That was a hell of a thing.
Oh my...
You can just do that to me?
Oh my god, they've
And I'd let you
recreated
get
it.
away with it?
Who did you kill, Willow?
It was your fault, slut.
You tricked me.
Does she feel guilty about kissing someone else?
I let her go. I didn't mean to.
Kissing me didn't mean
No.
th-
She was
Oh.
never gone. She was with me. We should have been forever. And I let her be dead. Please, baby. I'm so sorry.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sorry. I'm sorry. Come back. What are you doing?
bringing you back to life.
Oh. That's what made her upset in the first place. Oh.
I am good.
I think she needed something to like help her start to move on, I guess. Tara wouldn't want her to be alone forever.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Me too, tired of Warren and Amy. Okay, I really liked that episode. I thought it was a really good and I guess needed examination of particularly like Willow's traumas, mistakes she's made, kind of addressing all of that and moving forward, moving onwards. And I think a big theme in this one was kind of revisitations, with revisiting the whole Giles cliffhanger earlier in the season, exactly what that was about. You know, did he die, did he not? You know, Willow and her killing of Warren and actually seeing Warren kind of almost fight to take her form in this one. Revisiting Tara's death and her memory and Willow's grief, Willow's guilt about all these different things kind of building up. Spike's chip way back when, got a mention of Riley, we went back to the Initiative headquarters and kind of saw that again. We saw the Wiccan group of witches that Willow was kind of first introduced to when she first met Tara. So kind of like that, we saw those people again in the scene where Tara was first introduced in Hush. It was kind of part of that group, and to see them again as Willow kind of has to face this reality that she's really gone and potentially like moving on, blah blah blah. I really enjoyed that a lot. I thought that was quite well handled. I think the only thing really is when they kind of reveal that Giles is alive and he's fine and corporeal, which is excellent. And kind of, you know, it would have been awful if they'd gone all that time and Giles was actually dead. And I do feel like there should have been a bit better handling of that cliffhanger. Because if they like confirmed that Giles is himself and fine in this one, maybe show us and explain how he survived that, because like that thing was very near his bloody neck at the end of that episode when it like cut to black. So maybe they'll explain that one down the line, maybe they just gloss over it, I don't know, but I feel like when you're going to confirm that this is actually Giles and he's fine, you know, how did he get out of it? You know, that was a pretty bleak situation, you know. And if you don't properly explain it, you know, at least end the episode where the guy was like lifting the thing and then it cuts. Because he was literally like coming down to Giles, I think, when the episode kind of ended on that cliffhanger back then. So that was very bizarre. But still, it is what it is. But I think they probably should have, I think, addressed that a bit more and gave a proper explanation, but maybe we're just not going to get one. I don't know. But still, I did enjoy Xander kind of getting that call and them addressing that worry, like, is Giles actually just been the first all this time? I didn't really ever buy into it because he had plenty of opportunities to like take people out of the picture and, you know, kill all the potentials at any point if he actually was the first. So I didn't think for a second that Giles had actually died or anything. But still, it's good that in some ways they addressed it, even if they didn't go all the way and properly explain things that I feel like they should have done. Just felt a bit undercooked, that kind of resolution to that mystery. But still, Giles is fine and alive, and I did like the scene where they kind of all leapt on him. He's like, what the hell are you all doing? That was very good. And I did like that little team and that squad going to find Giles. And Andrew tagging along with them as well. I'm coming around on Andrew. I can't believe I'm saying it. He's just so much better on his own. I can't even stress it enough how much better it is to just have one character like that instead of 3. But, you know, he does want to feel wanted and included. Obviously, I think he's a very lonely person, and that's probably what drew him to people like Warren in the first place. Because anyone who's willing to be his friend, he'd drift towards, and Warren wants people he could manipulate, and he certainly did do that. So I did appreciate he is trying to like make some friends and have these connections and stuff, and then in the car playing games, trying to bring some sort of fun to proceedings, trying to get people involved, trying to form those connections again. And the fact that when we first confronted with Willow, you know, looking like Warren, he assumed it was the first, and he was kind of like fighting back against it, saying, I know what you were doing to me, you were manipulating me, you were doing things, you know, you made me do things that I can't take back. And obviously that's a big theme in this episode as well, because of, you know, Willow kind of paying for her actions last season as well, throughout this whole punishment kind of thing, the hex that Amy put on her. So I like that he was like, you know, you did that to me. He just wasn't running back into his arms until he kind of assumed maybe it actually was Warren back to life, not the first. But I did like, he's clearly very aware that he was manipulated and he wasn't going to fall into that trap again. So he has kind of made some realizations about himself, I think, and he's making, you know, a few baby steps, and that's progress, so I'll take it. Obviously he's not all the way there, because when he was on his own he threatened to do something evil again, but again his plans for evil were like sticking things together, so we don't really have to worry about him turning evil, because I think he could be dispatched pretty easily on his own. But yeah, I actually am enjoying his development. What is going on? It must be the crazy year that is 2020. But yeah, stuff with him I enjoyed. And just that whole kind of group, Xander, Anya, Dawn and him going off, having a bit of an escapade. That was good. And Anya had a few funny lines as well when they were talking earlier on in the episode. So it's always nice to have some Anya funny moments and one-liners and stuff like that. So they didn't have like a huge amount to do in this episode, but they've had moments to shine throughout the entire season. And, you know, Dawn got quite a lot to do in the last episode, so it makes sense that she'd be in more of a backseat here. So yeah, I enjoyed that little group and what they were all about. And yeah, the fact that the Giles mystery kind of thing did get some proper conclusion, even though I guess we did need to address it, because they obviously ended off on that cliffhanger, and then for some reason he just never mentioned that he was attacked or anything, which is obviously very suspicious, and it's just kind of, I think the writers continuing to make you suspicious of it. Needlessly, in my opinion, they didn't really need to do that at all, they didn't need to bother, but it is what it is. What should we do next? I guess the whole Willow and Kennedy situation. In terms of them, Willow and Kennedy actually being a thing, I'm fairly neutral. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more, they're going to explore it a bit more, because that did seem to be like a key thing in this episode that kickstarted the events. But even if Kennedy's just kind of there as a placemat, which sounds horrible to say, but she's just kind of there in order for them to explore this guilt that Willow's feeling and trying to like move on from Tara, blah blah blah. I could see that just being the case as well, and this is kind of dropped, because it did feel quite sudden, I guess, like this, how dramatically Kennedy went about trying to get alone time with Willow, pretending to be ill, pretending to have her own mission, and just taking her to the bronze. That felt a bit extreme from just like the casual flirting which she'd kind of done in episodes previously. There's a bit of an escalation there, but I think it's just for plot's sake. So maybe there's going to be something with those two. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. But overall, I actually didn't mind Kennedy in this episode. You know, at times I feel like, oh, she's been a bit much, and there were moments like that in this one. But for the most part, I actually liked her, and I liked her standing up to Amy particularly, demanding answers and talking with, well, not talking with her out of it really, she kissed her, but, you know, that did feel a bit, I'm not quite sure they'd earned that, because Tara and Kennedy had only just, like, romantically properly linked in this one episode. So I don't know if that was fully earned at the end, like reverting Willow back there. You know, it wasn't quite Xander's speech at the end of season 6 to bring her back from the brink and bring her back from a place of evil, because we'd seen, you know, their friendship over the past 6 years and 6 seasons, and they'd been friends even longer than that. But still, I appreciate the sentiment behind it, and I think it was more so just to really address Willow's continuing guilt about killing Warren and the whole Dark Willow thing that she went through, and dealing with the grief she's still feeling over Tara, the guilt over kissing someone else. Because it started with her guilt, I think. Well, it's kind of her guilt over killing Warren and her guilt over kissing Kennedy, and pretending, well, like addressing that Tara was actually dead and gone, and not being in, you know, being in the here and now for the first time since she died, really. She's always referring to her and Tara in the present tense. She didn't want to let her go. Really kind of emotional moments there, and Alison Hannigan, as always, fucking nailed it at the end there. Kind of breaking down and apologising to Tara, but, you know, Tara would want her to be happy. Just with Kennedy, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I really enjoyed them actually really focusing on that, and once again some magical effect around Willow changed how others viewed her, be it when she turned evil or when she turned invisible, and here when she turned into Warren, so basically turned evil again. And I did actually like the idea of Warren was kind of fighting back, and it was actually Warren was like reclaiming and like taking over her body. I actually quite liked that idea. So it's not just Willow like facing a reflection of the person she killed, having to deal with that and address that guilt, and the fact that that happened to her because she felt she deserved that punishment, to kind of be in the shoes, I guess, of the man she killed. She was actively becoming him as well, which is kind of an even worse thing. So I think in a way Willow, she saw that as her punishment. That was what started happening to her, is because she kind of, I think she kind of sees herself as bad as Warren is because of all the things she's done, and you know, they're both killers, so they kind of are in the same bracket in that sense, but there's still obviously a big difference character-wise, and I think they also emphasise that with Willow and Amy in this episode. They've both done bad things. Admittedly, Willow did worse things overall, I would say, than Amy's done, but nonetheless, Willow's kind of been to that place, registered that she needed to change when she came back from it, and is actively changing and feeling that guilt and regret. Amy, on the other hand, has done bad things, apparently had time to address it and move forward, and she was saying she had changed and she was working on herself, which is a flat out lie, which is, you know, not great, but clearly she hadn't changed her ways all that much. I think that's the difference between why everyone can still love and forgive Willow, as Amy was kind of saying, and she wasn't getting that. It's because she was still a bitch, basically. But yeah, bringing Amy back into it as well, kind of tying into the revisitation thing going on with this episode. I was willing to give her a chance and think, okay, she's redeeming herself, she's working on herself, that's good. You know, she was going down a dark path herself. But clearly she's just Amy. And Amy is the worst. Well, not the worst, Warren's the worst, but Amy also sucks. But it was cool to kind of bring her back into it. And if they're going to deal with, you know, a big part of Willow's guilt and grief in this episode, it makes sense to have Amy involved in that. Because she kind of contributed to Willow's downward spiral in season 6, so it makes a lot of sense, and I did like them revisiting that. I don't know if we'll see Amy again. I would like her to get like a final comeuppance, but I don't know if they're going to do that. But if not, I'm still kind of satisfied, because it is more about Willow's story than Amy's. She's kind of brought back as a part of it to deal with Willow's guilt, which I did enjoy them focusing on, and it needed to happen for sure. And while I am sick of seeing Warren's face, I do have to give credit to the actor who plays him and to Alison for kind of like portraying each other. So having Alison kind of portray like some more Warren mannerisms, like when she got the gun, and then recreating that scene from Seeing Red as well was also really cool. And then the actor who plays Warren also had to kind of portray Willow in Warren's guise, and I think he did a pretty good job with that as well. There was you could definitely see the difference, the kind of more vulnerable-ish side. I don't think vulnerable is the right word, but you know what I mean. Very different kind of thing to Warren. So I liked that, and then the idea that Warren was fighting back and Willow could like lose control of her body and he just like became Warren again. was a really interesting idea, and then how that all linked back to Amy being the one to cast the hex on her. Exactly why now Amy's decided to do that, I don't know. Maybe she only just found out when it was back in Sunnydale, who can say, but you know, that's tiny little things that you can kind of fill in the gaps there, really, can't you? So all that was really cool, and I liked them focusing on Willow addressing that Tara is gone in the here and now, and that part is over, even though they were meant to be forever, like she said. I love that whole speech, what she was saying. You know, kissing Kennedy is kind of like admitting that she's gone, and she was in that kind of phase where she wasn't ready to move on or anything. I still don't think she is ready to move forward. She's definitely, obviously, still in a bad place about it, and she needs some work, but she has people to lean on, and she may or may not have Kennedy. I don't know if it's going to develop much further, but we'll have to see. It did feel very much done in terms of just because they wanted to do the storyline, as opposed to those characters just kind of fit. I can buy Kennedy's, you know, attraction to Willow and her investment in her, because we've seen a bit of flirting on her part before, but Willow was not about that at all in those scenes in previous episodes, so I don't know if it's quite mutual, or if it is. I was like, where did that come from? But, you know, there's plenty of time to see them explore that a bit more if they choose to, so we'll see what happens with it. But I did enjoy focusing on Willow and her grief a lot, and it allows her to take that big step forward, and the fact that she's still very much, I think she's always going to live with the events of season 6, both Tara's death and, you know, all the horrible things she did. And she just kind of has to live with them. But I like the idea of her, like, really embodying them by turning into Warren for a bit. So I thought that was really clever and a really interesting thing. And then the Buffy and Spike stuff. Spike's chip properly malfunctioning. They really are putting Spike through the ringer. Ever since he got his soul back, it's just like even worse. And you know, Spike is another person who did some horrible things, registered that, and is trying to make changes to it, which Amy's not doing. So again, Amy, take a look at yourself. And yeah, them revisiting the initiative, trying to get some like drugs or something there to like sedate him when things get rough. I liked how, once again, Buffy's not afraid of its own history as a show. And even if they probably knew at this point season 4 wasn't the fan favourite or the most well received, or they had a lot of problems with it, they still kind of like, well, it happened, let's address it, and they revisit the initiative. We get a Riley mention. Would have been cool to see him just so we could see his wife, because I love Sam. But that was all cool as well, and the fact that Riley left it Buffy's hands and what they do about Spike and his chip, it's really up to her. The fact that he knew it wasn't really his responsibility, and if it was season 4 and early season 5 Riley, you know, I think he'd actually be trying to take the control out of Buffy's hands, and he'd probably say, yeah, let's just kill Spike because he's too far gone, we'll have to just get rid of him. Desperately trying to crowbar his way into importance in Buffy's life, because that was a big problem he kind of had, I think, always feeling a bit inferior to her in that respect. But we've seen how much he's grown and changed in last season and here, where it was like, well, Buffy can do what she wants about it. So I think she'll probably make the call to get the chip removed, because ultimately it will kill Spike, and I don't think, if Spike's going to die, I don't think it's going to be because of his chip stopping working. But again, that, I think if they do get rid of the chip, and I feel like that's where they're going to go with it, the fact that he does have a soul now is going to measure Buffy's judgment in that. And, you know, is he just on a leash? Is he going to start killing even though he has a soul? You know, how's that going to affect and change Spike's behaviour now, this behaviour modification thing he's had for what, like, past 4 seasons basically, 3.5 seasons? Now if that's suddenly gone, you know, who is Spike now? Because that is, he's got a soul back now, and the only remaining thing of that Spike before he got his soul back was that chip. If that's gone, who the hell is this guy now? And I feel like that could be what they explore with it. And is he going to be the Spike was before? Now he doesn't really, maybe not have any limitations and restrictions with that chip. He can kind of hurt anyone he wants. Does that make him dangerous, or has he learned his ways because of his soul? This could be a really interesting kind of thing to have and debate to have, if, of course, Buffy does decide to get the chip removed, because it would be a hell of a plot twist if the next episode opens with Buffy coming home and she's like, well, Spike's dead. We just let him die. I don't think that's where they're going with it, but it was cool to revisit that, and again, just address something that I think needed to be addressed maybe before the show's over. We had Willow's kind of guilt about everything and moving forward from that, and Spike's chip. Because I feel like they kind of have explored so many different routes with how that chip has affected Spike. Maybe it's time to remove it and see who this guy is now and how different he is to the Spike pre-chip in seasons 2 and 3 that we saw, and the first few episodes of season 4 as well. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea, and we'll see what happens with all of that. But I did like the interactions with them. It's good to see them not at each other's throats and not fighting all the time and not having as much of a toxic relationship. That's always fun. And Spike's still very aware of himself, keeping himself chained up when he needs to be. You know, only unchaining himself if Buffy's around him with the potential, so he can't hurt anyone. But remove the chip. What's his actually going to be to that now? Probably not that different. I don't think it'll be that different, but we'll have to see. And I think that'll be a very interesting thing to explore. So I liked everything going on with that. And overall, just a really solid episode. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I loved the focus on Willow, because of course I did. And it's rude to have her turn into Warren. That is a personal attack, and I do take it personally. But they did some very interesting things with Willow's grief, Willow's guilt, and, you know, addressing the Dark Willow stuff, addressing Warren's death, the fact that she is a murderer, kind of having to deal with that. She thinks she's, you know, needs to be punished in that way, so clearly she is making some big steps towards redemption. The her and Kennedy thing, you know, I'm just very neutral about it. We'll see what happens. But I think it was more for the plot's sake is why it's even happening. But maybe they will choose to explore it a bit more. Yeah, that Buffy and Spike situation could prove quite interesting. I like mainly the answers we got about the Giles situation, but I feel like they should have at least given us more closure on that, exactly how he escaped that cliffhanger. I'm liking Andrew, which is bloody insane, and yeah, just like revisiting all these other ideas, like the Initiative, the Wiccan group, Riley, Amy, all that jazz. So yeah, really good stuff, and I look forward to seeing what's going to be happening next, and how the first will probably retaliate, because we've kind of been in the back seat for a few episodes, because obviously they're still recovering, it would seem, from episode 11. So they'll be back with a bang soon enough, I assume, but I don't know quite when that will be. But yeah, good episode. I did enjoy it a lot. And my next reaction in the next cycle, I believe it's the next Buffy, so it's episode 14 of Buffy, and then I think we've got 2 episodes of Angel, I believe. So yeah, looking forward to those, and until my next reaction, thanks for watching.